Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are having yourselves an awesome day. Hope you're staying warm. I know that it was a cold day for me out on the tarmac airport in minus 37. So I hope you guys are a little bit warmer. So this Saturday, guys, it'll be Q&A at 9:30. Come out if you can. If I'm not on by 9:30, then there's a good chance that Q&A is canceled. I usually let people know that it is if it is, but Lord willing, we will have that on Saturday at 9:30. So, going along the lines of kind of Old Testament apologetics is kind of what I'm doing this week. Really tough ones too. I'm going to be doing how can Christians legitimize a God who orders genocides or the genocide of entire nations. And so some of you that aren't familiar with the Bible, there's stuff like when the Israelites going to the Promised Land, God commands them to destroy the nations inhabiting the Promised Land of Canaan. But you can never interpret a verse in isolation from their immediate context and other verses before or after that. So when you're looking at a verse, you cannot just take a single verse and not look at the entire chapter as a whole when it comes into relation context. And this is very important in regards to this question. So, in Deuteronomy 7:2, it uses the words destroy them totally. So when people see that, you get a lot of atheists that are saying, God can't be a good God because he just orders the genocide of all these people, right? And these things, right? And so we have to look at it contextually. And so literally right after that, you see God say, do not intermarry with them, right? For they'll turn your sons away from following me to serve other gods. And then it says, this is what you're to do to them. It doesn't say go and kill them and smash their heads on rocks and stuff like that. It says break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, cut down their Asherah poles, and burn their idols in a fire. And that's in verses 3 and 5. God's the aim of God's command was not the obliteration of the wicked, but the obliteration of wickedness. And so he didn't tell people to go in and just slaughter every single person in this town. He basically was saying go in the town and destroy everything as far as their idol worship is concerned. So again, that was, their sacred stones, they're breaking down their altars, cutting down their Asherah poles, and burning their idols in fire. And so it was destroying the wickedness, not necessarily the wicked, the people. Now there is other times, though, that we do have to look at times where there is a lot of people that are killed in certain circumstances in the Bible. But you also have to understand that usually happens for a very, very important reason. It isn't like God has a temper tantrum one day and just orders the absolute slaughter of a whole bunch of innocent people. So you have to, and I'll give you a few examples for that. One, when it comes to the flood, people think that, it's like the world today, and how could you believe in a God that basically wiped the entire human race off the face of the planet just because he was a little upset? Well, that's completely twisting what happened. So yes, he did call for a flood, where Noah was in the ark. But you also have to understand that during that time, that the world was so wicked. Like I don't even think our human brains could comprehend how wicked and evil the world was at that point. It was nothing like it is right now. We're heading that direction, but it was nothing like it was then. Like I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a verse that says their hearts and minds were wicked continually, which meaning wasn't like you just had your bouts of wickedness and evilness. It means every single person was flat out dark, evil people, like flat out wicked people, right? And so that's one of the reasons why God called for the flood. And the only person he could really find to continue the human race was Noah and his family. I forget the amount of people that were on the ark, but there's quite a few of them. And so there's that example. And then there's other examples where in the Old Testament where there's cities of people that are completely wiped out. So another example is Sodom and Gomorrah. The reason why Sodom and Gomorrah was wiped out is, again, this wasn't just some city that was like a party city and everyone was having a good time and God sent down, brimstone and fire and wiped everybody out. This city was absolutely disgusting. Like it was incest. There was pedophilia, major pedophilia. There was homosexuality of every kind of perversion you can possibly think of was happening in the city. And you can tell because if you read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, the angels that come to protect Lot and his wife and his family, these people, men come up basically to the door and saying, we want to screw those angels that are with you. And the guy even says, here, take my young daughter. You guys can have her. And they're like, no, we don't want your daughter. We want those men. Right? And so it was a very perverted, disgusting city. And it was just pure evil. And so that's one of the reasons that city was wiped out. And if you ask, and if you read the story again, don't quote me on this. I don't remember it verbatim, but basically, the or with Lot and them, they're just like, don't destroy the city if you can find 100 people. And he's like, there isn't 100 people. And so it's like, well, don't destroy the city if you can find 50 people. They can't find 50 people. It goes down to like there's 2 people in the whole city that aren't these absolutely disgusting putrid people, right? So, and it goes on and on and on. And so the other times where cities were wiped out, these were not cities that had nice people in it. And like there was innocent, or atheists love to use the word innocent people. God killed innocent people. No, majority of the time when God wiped out people, it was like people who were absolutely disgusting. There were cities that were wiped out where they were literally giving birth to a baby. They would take the baby, they would go up to the altar of Baal, which had, and I've seen altars of Baal. It's basically a statue that has his hands out like this. They would light a fire under his hands, and they'd take these newborn babies and put it on these red hot hands of this idol, and literally watch their infants sizzle like a shish kebab on a grill and sacrifice these babies to this god, right? And like crazy stuff like that. Like this isn't like, oh, these people kind of messed up every now and then. Like these were straight up evil, wicked people. And that is a lot of the time when God would call for these places to be wiped out, because if you didn't, this stuff would just spread, right? And a lot of the time too, me and my dad were talking about this, it was to preserve the bloodline of Christ, which was whom to come, right? And so if these cities didn't get wiped out, including the children, then that would have tainted or affected the bloodline of Christ, right? And different things like this. So whenever you have an atheist walk up to you and saying, how can you believe in a God that kills innocent people? God didn't, a lot of time, didn't kill innocent people. He killed people who were extremely wicked at heart and in action. Like it was absolutely despicable and disgusting what these people were doing when God called for that to happen. And then there's other circumstances where it appears like God called for them to be destroyed, and it wasn't God calling for them to be destroyed. It was God calling them to destroy anything that had to do with their idols. So their Asherah poles and their sacred stones and their idols that were carved out of stone and stuff like that. He would call for them to destroy that and not the people. So again, we have to be very careful when it comes to the context of this stuff, because if you don't look at context, especially cultural context and biblical context, it's very easy for an atheist to walk up and completely persuade you and mix up your mind and make you think that the Bible is saying something that it isn't saying at all. And so I hope that I articulated that correctly, because this is a question that comes up all the time. It's like, how can you believe in a God that commands genocide, right? And you have to understand that God is a God of justice and he is a God of love as well. And there's a fine balance with those two. And the craziest thing and the greatest thing about Christianity is justice and love meet perfectly when you look at the cross, right? There was justice when, let me focus that back in. There was justice being served for all humanity when Christ died on the cross. But at the same time, it was the ultimate act of love by Jesus Christ dying on the cross. So it was like the perfect mix of justice and love when Jesus Christ died on the cross. And it's a beautiful and powerful thing to think about. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, I wanted to just talk about that today. I hope I articulated that correctly. But no, I don't believe there's any point in time where in the Bible where God commands the genocide of an entire race of people or section of people that were innocent. You just don't see that anywhere. Period. And if someone can prove me wrong, please send me a verse and I'll look at the context of that and give you an answer back. But as far as I've read the Bible, there's nowhere in the Bible where God commands the death of hundreds of thousands of innocent people. Most of the time, if you actually read the culture of these tribes, it was absolute. It would make you want to puke how disgusting and evil these people were. So these were not innocent people. They're very dark and evil people. And so I'm going to leave it at that. But anyways, I hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful day. And if you have any questions you guys want me to tackle, even if it's cultural, whether that has to do with homosexuality, how do we deal with people, that are identify as a unicorn or something, whatever it may be, send me a message and I would love to, to answer these questions for you guys, because we have to be prepared as Christians, because we're coming to a place now where, and I've been witnessing this as of late actually on a few friends' profiles, where if you say you are a Christian, it's almost like you are immediately hated, and you're not listened to. And this is the big problem right now, where a lot of these people in the far left, they want you to listen to them, and they scream out tolerance, and we need to have tolerance for everything and everybody and everything. But a second someone comes walking around to have a conversation with something they don't agree with, they're completely intolerant. And so they kind of shoot themselves in the foot. So we have to be prepared in today's day and age, because if you're not, guys, you're going to be easily misled. It talks about that in the Bible, how in the last days, even the elect, which means people who are like strong Christians, are going to be completely misled away from the gospel, because right, they wanted their ears tickled, they want to hear what they want to hear, they love their sin, right, and whatever it may be. So be prepared, examine yourself every day, get in the word every day, pray every day. Best thing you can do to defend yourself up for what is coming, because we are going to be walking into some seriously dark days, guys. And so I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm looking forward to Saturday, and Lord willing, I will have a video up tomorrow. And until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye for now, guys.